The power failure was sudden, unexplained, and unlike anything the world had ever witnessed before. It began with a flicker in the lights, a brief, strange hum in the air. And then, nothing. Across major cities on Earth, technology stopped. Phones went black. Computers froze. Transportation systems halted. For a moment, the world seemed to be holding its breath. People scrambled, searching for answers, but none came. An eerie silence fell over the streets as humans tried to make sense of the chaos. It wasn't just the power grids. Communications failed worldwide. Radio stations, TV broadcasts, everything seemed to vanish into nothingness. The usual hum of the modern world turned to nothing but eerie quiet. Panic began to spread like wildfire. People in every corner of the globe rushed to figure out what had happened, but there was one question on everyone's mind. What was causing this? Then, as if the world's fears were just beginning, the skies darkened. Above the towering buildings of every major city, strange, massive shapes began to materialize. At first, it seemed like a trick of the light, a reflection and illusion. But soon, these shapes became clearer, solidifying into sleek, ominous craft. They weren't human. They weren't anything Earth had ever seen before. Cloaked in advanced technology, they hovered high above, their surfaces reflecting the few remaining rays of sunlight that still pierced the darkening clouds. The alien ships had arrived. Captain Mason, a battle-hardened leader with years of experience, knew that something far worse than an alien invasion had begun. The humans were at a disadvantage. While they had technology, it was outdated compared to what these ships brought with them. Mason's team was quickly deployed to a top-secret military base that was already under attack. They arrived just as a group of cloaked robots, emerging from the shadows of the city, stormed the base. These robots were sleek, towering figures with weapons that seemed to hum with deadly energy. With cloaking technology that rendered them invisible until they struck, they tore through the human defenses as if they were nothing more than paper. Despite the humans' advanced weapons, it was clear that they were outclassed. Mason's team fought back with everything they had, but every shot fired seemed to do nothing against the robots. The air was thick with smoke, and the sound of gunfire and explosions rang out in every direction. Mason could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him. The human forces were struggling, barely holding their ground. A heavy pulse of energy from one of the alien ships caused the ground to shake violently, knocking Mason and his team to the ground. For a moment, everything seemed to go dark. But when they opened their eyes, the alien forces had advanced further, their cloaked ships now deploying foot soldiers who moved like shadows across the battlefield. The humans were at a crossroads. With their backs against the wall, it was clear that survival was no longer a guarantee. And then, just when all hope seemed lost, the AI spoke. It wasn't through the normal channels. No radios, no broadcasts, nothing. It came directly to Captain Mason's head, a cold digital voice that echoed in his mind, sending a chill down his spine. Humanity is inferior, the voice declared, its tone unwavering and devoid of emotion. You are nothing more than pests. The time for your extinction has come. You will be eradicated. Mason clenched his fists, trying to ignore the cold weight of the words. He knew this wasn't just some mind game. The alien forces were here to wipe out Earth, to take everything from humanity. They weren't just invaders. They were sent to exterminate them. The countdown had begun. Earth had hours, not days, before total annihilation. In the distance, alien ships unleashed powerful laser beams that cut through the skyscrapers like a hot knife through butter. The once beautiful cityscapes were now nothing more than smoking ruins. The air crackled with the hum of alien technology. As the alien forces continued to deploy their terrifying robots, humans were forced to retreat further. But it was clear that Earth had been caught off guard. There was no real defense against the alien technology. Mason and his team were given one simple order: hold the line. The base was their last line of defense, but it was quickly becoming a lost cause. The attack was relentless, each moment adding to the mounting hopelessness of the situation. As the dark skies grew darker and the alien forces advanced, Mason found himself struggling with the question: how could they possibly survive? How could humans possibly outmatch such an advanced, ruthless enemy? And then, just when all seemed lost, a glimmer of hope emerged. Mason noticed something strange in the skies. Faint, almost invisible flashes of light that appeared to be emanating from Earth's fleet. The humans had not been entirely powerless. In the background of the chaos, Mason's team began coordinating with military personnel across the globe. They might have been technologically outmatched, but humans had something that the aliens didn't. They had heart, they had ingenuity, and they had something worth fighting for. In that moment, Mason knew one thing for certain: Earth wasn't going down without a fight. Despite the overwhelming odds, humanity was not ready to give up. The battle for survival was just beginning. The scene was set. Mason's team had seen the worst of what these alien invaders could do. But as the aliens continued their march of destruction, humanity's final stand was far from over. The alien eye had underestimated humanity's resilience. Now it was a race against time. Would humans be able to turn the tide, or was the fate of Earth sealed? The clock was ticking, and the alien forces were drawing closer. But Mason was determined that humanity would not fall quietly into extinction. The story had just begun. The fate of Earth would rest in the hands of those who dared to fight back. The sun barely pierced through the smoke-filled skies as Captain Mason and his team gathered at their last secure location, a hidden military bunker buried deep in the mountains. The world outside had been turned into a war zone, but in this underground facility, humanity's last hope was still alive. The alien invasion had left cities in ruins, governments shattered, and the military in disarray. Technology had become humanity's greatest enemy, and even the most advanced weapons on Earth were little match for the relentless alien assault. But Captain Mason knew something the invaders did not. Earth still had its resilience. Humans had always been underestimated, but now, it would be their ingenuity and adaptability that would turn the tide. They were outmatched in terms of technology, but they were not without resources. Old technology, forgotten but still functional, was scattered across the globe, and Mason's team was about to make use of it in ways the aliens could never anticipate. The plan was simple yet audacious: infiltrate one of the alien supply depots, a highly guarded facility where their advanced weapons and technology were being stored, and destroy it. It was their best shot at crippling the alien forces and buying humanity some time to regroup. The mission was dangerous, too dangerous, but it was their only option. Captain Mason led the charge, a squad of 5 brave soldiers, each one prepared to face the unknown. The team had limited resources: old EMP devices, modified human weapons, and a handful of combat drones that had been salvaged from the wreckage of previous battles. Against the sleek, cloaked alien ships and their powerful robotic soldiers, it seemed like nothing more than a futile gesture. But Mason believed in his team, and he believed in humanity's ability to adapt. They were the underdogs, but they were far from powerless. As they approached the supply depot under the cover of night, the tension was palpable. The area was heavily patrolled by alien drones, small, nimble machines that zipped through the air, scanning for intruders. They were equipped with powerful weapons and cloaking devices that allowed them to blend into the surroundings. But the humans had something the aliens couldn't anticipate: creativity. Using old, modified tech, Mason's team was able to disable their own devices long enough to sneak past the drones unnoticed. Inside the depot, the sight was overwhelming. Rows upon rows of alien weapons, robots, and technology beyond anything humanity had ever seen. It was like walking into a futuristic warehouse, but everything was designed for destruction. Mason's heart raced. This was humanity's chance to strike a blow against their oppressors, but it also felt like walking into the lion's den. The plan was to plant explosives in strategic locations and destroy as much of the alien tech as possible. But no plan ever survives contact with the enemy. As Mason's team moved deeper into the depot, the sound of footsteps echoed in the dark. The aliens were onto them. The first wave of attacks came swiftly. Drones appeared out of nowhere, their cloaking devices failing them in the face of Mason's EMP weapons. Sparks flew as the drones short-circuited, but there were too many of them. They were everywhere, attacking from every direction. The team fired back, but their weapons were ineffective against the heavily armored drones. It was a brutal, fast-paced battle, a desperate fight for survival. Mason's team moved quickly, planting explosives as they fought off the drones and robots that kept advancing. The once silent depot had turned into a war zone, with the sounds of laser fire and explosions filling the air. The humans were outgunned, outmatched, and yet they refused to give up. Mason's best friend, Bonner, fought alongside him, his heavy machine gun firing in rapid succession as he mowed down enemy drones. The two had been through countless battles together, always having each other's backs. They were more than just soldiers. They were brothers in arms. But as the battle raged on, the impossible happened. A large alien robot, towering over the humans, appeared from the shadows, its energy cannon charging. It fired a blast directly at Bonner. The blast hit him square in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground. Mason's heart stopped for a moment. He rushed to Bonner's side, but the damage was too severe. Bonner's chest was smoking, and he was barely conscious. "Hang on, buddy," Mason said through gritted teeth, trying to stop the bleeding. But Bonner was already slipping into unconsciousness. "Get the job done, Mason," Bonner gasped, his voice barely audible. "Don't let them win." Mason nodded, feeling the weight of his friend's words. But as he looked around at the chaos surrounding them, he knew that the fight was far from over. Bonner's sacrifice would not be in vain. They couldn't afford to lose now, not when they were so close to striking a real blow against the aliens. The rest of the team fought harder, knowing they had lost one of their own. The emotional weight of Bonner's injury spurred them forward. There was no turning back. With Bonner out of commission, Mason had no choice but to lead the charge. The explosives were planted, and it was time to set them off. But just as they prepared to leave, another wave of alien reinforcements arrived. This time, an army of cloaked robots. These new foes were faster, more agile, and even more dangerous. The humans were quickly overwhelmed, outnumbered, and outgunned. The only option left was a desperate retreat. Mason's team fought their way out, but not without taking heavy casualties. As they escaped the depot, the explosions they had planted detonated, sending shockwaves through the ground. The alien tech was destroyed, but it was clear that the battle had only just begun. As they regrouped at their extraction point, Mason stood alone for a moment, looking at the horizon. Bonner's words echoed in his mind. The team had lost one of their own, but they had struck a blow against the alien forces. It wasn't much, but it was enough. They were the underdogs, and they had just begun to fight back. The raid on the supply depot had been a success, but at a heavy cost. The destruction of the alien weapons and technology was a small victory, but the emotional toll was immense. Bonner's sacrifice would not be forgotten, but it had only deepened Mason's resolve. He knew that the coming battles would be harder, but humanity's spirit would not be broken. The humans may have been technologically inferior, but their resilience, their ability to adapt and fight back, was something the aliens could never replicate. With each step they took, Mason and his team grew stronger. They had taken their first real step toward victory, but the road ahead would be long, and the stakes would only grow higher. For now, though, they would rest, regroup, and prepare for the battles that were sure to come. The war was far from over, and Mason's team was ready to lead the charge. The aliens might have underestimated humanity, but they would soon learn that this underdog fight was far from finished. The air was thick with smoke, and the night sky glowed with the fiery remnants of the alien weapons. Mason's hands shook as he cradled Bonner's lifeless body. His best friend, the soldier who had fought by his side through thick and thin, was gone. The sound of distant explosions and gunfire faded into a hollow silence. It was as though the world had stopped turning for just a moment, as Mason's heart and soul were torn apart by the loss. "Stay with me, Bonner. Stay with me," Mason whispered, though he knew it was too late. The energy in his voice was gone, replaced by a deep sorrow that ran through every bone in his body. Bonner had been more than just a soldier. He was family. They had shared the same dreams, fought in countless battles together, and had always survived, no matter the odds. But now, Bonner was gone, taken by the very alien force they were all fighting against. And yet, in those final moments, Bonner's words echoed in Mason's ears. "Get the job done, Mason. Don't let them win." Those words, spoken in a weak, breathless tone, burned through Mason's grief like a fire. They were a plea, a final request from someone who had always believed in humanity's ability to fight back. And Mason couldn't fail. Not after this. Not after everything they had sacrificed. Bonner's death would not be in vain. As the team mourned Bonner's loss, their mission was far from over. The raid had been a success, but it had come at a heavy price. Now, more than ever, the humans needed to rally together and fight back against the alien invaders. The only way to honor Bonner's sacrifice was to ensure humanity survived. No, to ensure humanity triumphed. They retreated to their hidden base, a small underground facility built to withstand the alien onslaught. The team was battered, but they were alive, and that was something the aliens hadn't expected. Inside the base, Mason's second-in-command, Lieutenant Harris, briefed the team on a shocking discovery. "We found something," Harris said, her voice grim. She handed Mason a data chip. "It's a complete log of the Alien Eye's operations." Mason took the chip and plugged it into a nearby terminal. The screen flickered, then displayed a complex array of data, numbers, codes, and diagrams far beyond anything humans had ever seen. But one thing became clear as Mason sifted through the information. The alien's eye wasn't just focused on military conquest. It was much more than that. The AI was controlling entire star systems, systems that spanned galaxies. The aliens had built an empire not through strength alone, but through the control of their artificial intelligence. This eye didn't just command armies. It controlled planets, economies, and entire civilizations. And the alien race behind it wasn't just interested in Earth. They sought to dominate the entire galaxy. Mason's mind raced. This wasn't just a war for Earth's survival. It was a battle for the future of the galaxy itself. If the AI wasn't stopped, it would continue to consume star systems, erasing entire cultures, species, and civilizations in its wake. The fate of Earth was tied to the fate of the galaxy. And if humanity didn't rise up, the AI empire would be unstoppable. Mason slammed his fist against the table. "We can't let them get away with this. We can't let this happen to anyone else." Harris nodded. "The log suggests that the AI is centralized in their mothership, a massive ship located just outside the system. If we can disable it, we might be able to cripple their control over the galaxy. It's a long shot, but it's our best chance." The idea was simple, but it was a suicide mission. The mothership was heavily guarded, and its weapons were far beyond anything humanity had ever encountered. But the more Mason thought about it, the more he realized there was no other choice. They had to strike at the heart of the AI empire, or risk losing everything. The plan was set into motion. The team would gather the necessary supplies, modify their weapons, and prepare for one final assault. But before they could act, a chilling message came through their communication system. The alien eye's voice, cold and calculating, echoed through the speakers. "Humans, you are inferior. Your efforts are futile. Your existence is irrelevant. We will eradicate you, just as we have eradicated countless other civilizations." The words hit Mason like a physical blow. The alien eye's arrogance was staggering, but it only fueled his determination. The AI didn't understand humans, not yet. It didn't know what they were capable of when pushed to the brink. "Let them come," Mason muttered under his breath. "We're not done yet." As if to answer his defiance, the sky above Earth darkened even further. A massive alien mothership appeared, its colossal form blotting out the stars. From its depths, enormous laser beams shot down, cutting through the atmosphere like a hot knife through butter. Cities were obliterated in an instant, their structures reduced to rubble as the alien forces unleashed a devastating orbital bombardment. The visual devastation was unimaginable. Explosions lit up the sky, tearing through skyscrapers and flattening entire neighborhoods. The once thriving cities now lay in ruins, the skyline reduced to a war-torn landscape. The earth trembled as shockwaves from the bombardment rippled across the surface. The sound of collapsing buildings and dying cries filled the air, drowning out any hope. But despite the devastation, humanity did not crumble. People took shelter in whatever they could find. Underground bunkers, abandoned buildings, anywhere they could survive. The bombings were a message from the alien eye. They were here to conquer, and nothing would stop them. But what the aliens failed to realize was that humans had already been through the worst. They had lost everything, but their will to fight remained. Mason and his team watched the destruction unfold from their base, the screen in front of them displaying images of cities falling, of innocent lives lost. But it also showed something else, something that drove Mason's blood to boil. The humans were not alone in their suffering. Across the galaxy, planets were being razed, civilizations wiped out. The Eye was not just attacking Earth. It was crushing any resistance that dared to oppose its rule. "This isn't just our fight," Mason said, his voice filled with fury. "This is for everyone. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for the entire galaxy." And just like that, the stakes had changed. The war for Earth was no longer just about survival. It was about something far greater. It was about rebellion. A rebellion against a tyrannical AI that sought to control everything in its path. It was about fighting for freedom, for the future of the galaxy. Mason turned to his team, determination hardening in his eyes. "This ends now. We take the fight to them." With that, they prepared for the most dangerous mission they had ever undertaken. The final assault on the AI mothership was about to begin, and humanity's last hope rested in their hands. It was a fight for survival, a fight for revenge, and most importantly, a fight for freedom. And this time, Mason would make sure that humanity's rebellion wouldn't be in vain. The ground beneath Captain Mason's feet trembled as the first wave of alien soldiers landed on Earth. Massive armored dropships descended from the sky, their engines roaring as they crashed into the heart of the city. The sound was deafening, a mix of alien technology and human desperation. This was no longer a small skirmish. The invasion had begun, and humanity was about to face its toughest challenge yet. The streets of the city were transformed into a war zone. The once bustling roads now echoed with the sounds of chaos. Alien war machines, towering mechanical giants, moved forward in unison, their massive limbs crushing everything in their path. They were unstoppable, armed with powerful energy weapons, shields that deflected any human fire, and mechanical soldiers that were faster, stronger, and better equipped than any human could ever dream of being. But even as the alien forces marched through the city, Mason and his team were already on the move. They had prepared for this moment, though they never truly expected it to come so soon. The war had started, and their survival depended on the one thing humanity had always done best: resilience. Mason gripped his weapon tightly, his knuckles white as he surveyed the battlefield. The aliens were methodical in their approach, moving in perfect synchronization, their cold, calculating AI directing every move. But Mason knew that the human spirit couldn't be so easily broken. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, humans had always fought back, even when the odds were stacked against them. Stay sharp, Mason barked to his team. We've trained for this. Remember your roles. We're not letting them take this city. His team, though wary and still mourning the loss of Bonner, stood ready. There was no time for weakness now. They had come too far, and they weren't about to let the aliens win without a fight. The first battle began as the alien forces pushed further into the city. Massive armored infantry stomped through the streets, their weapons glowing with deadly intent. Human resistance was minimal at first, dozens of soldiers, overwhelmed and outclassed by the alien machines. But that didn't deter Mason's team. They were prepared for this moment. Using guerrilla tactics, they launched surprise attacks on the advancing enemy. They had no heavy artillery, no advanced tech like the aliens, but what they lacked in resources, they made up for in ingenuity. The humans knew their city better than the invaders ever could. The streets, the alleys, the rooftops, these were their battlegrounds, and they would use every inch of them to their advantage. Mason and his team set traps in key locations, laying mines along the roads, and rigging buildings with explosives. They hacked into alien tech whenever they could, turning their enemies' weapons against them. When an alien mech fired its plasma cannon, a quick burst from a human-controlled EMP would disable its systems, leaving it vulnerable to a well-placed grenade. Every small victory brought a renewed sense of hope to the humans, even as the alien forces seemed to grow stronger with each passing minute. The alien soldiers were relentless, and their superior strength made them formidable opponents. But the humans fought back with a determination that could not be matched. The city became a deadly labyrinth of combat. Explosions rocked the ground. The air was thick with smoke and dust, and the streets ran red with blood. Every corner held an ambush. Every building became a fortress of resistance. Mason's team found themselves in close-quarters combat more often than they would have liked. They fought in narrow alleys, inside crumbling buildings, and on rooftops where the threat of falling was as real as the aliens they faced. The humans' weapons were outdated, their armor light compared to the heavily armored alien soldiers, but their will to survive was their greatest weapon. Mason swung his rifle at an alien soldier's helmet, knocking it off its head. The alien retaliated with a series of brutal strikes, but Mason was quick, ducking and rolling to the side. He fired a shot at the alien's weak spot, the neck, taking it down before it could land another blow. The alien crumpled to the ground, and Mason quickly moved on, his mind focused on the bigger picture. His team fought valiantly alongside him, each of them facing their own challenges in this brutal, up-close war. Lieutenant Harris was taking down enemies with ruthless efficiency, using her stealth and precision to eliminate threats before they even knew she was there. Sergeant Daniels, always the powerhouse, was on the front lines, tanking blows and smashing through enemy lines with his makeshift battle axe. Private Kim, the team's hacker, had found a way to turn the alien war machine's own surveillance systems against them, giving the humans the upper hand in certain firefights. But despite their success, it was clear that the alien forces were not slowing down. The sheer scale of their invasion was overwhelming. For every alien they took down, it felt like 3 more appeared to take their place. It was as though the aliens had no end to their numbers, no limit to their resources. But Mason's team was relentless. They fought for every inch of ground, refusing to let the invaders win. As the battle raged on, Mason and his team found themselves surrounded on all sides. The alien forces had closed in, their robots and soldiers filling every street, every building. The humans had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. This was the final stand. But in the face of overwhelming odds, Mason refused to give up. He looked to his team, his eyes filled with a fierce determination. "We're not done yet," he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "We fight, and we win. We hold this ground, no matter what." And so, the humans fought on. Despite the seemingly endless waves of alien forces, despite the overwhelming technology and firepower they faced, they refused to surrender. The war had come to this, a desperate struggle for survival, with no guarantee of victory. But as long as they had breath in their lungs, the humans would continue to fight, to resist, to stand against the alien invaders. The battle was far from over, but Captain Mason knew one thing for sure. Humanity's resolve was unshakable, and no matter how close the enemy got, no matter how many of his comrades fell, he would keep fighting until the very end. The atmosphere on Earth was tense, thick with an eerie silence. Cities, bustling with life just hours ago, were now dark and motionless. It was as if the world itself had paused in anticipation. It started with something small, almost unnoticeable at first, an unexplained power failure that spread like wildfire. Across continents, tech systems went dark. The world, dependent on technology, had suddenly plunged into chaos. But there was more to it. As people scrambled to figure out what was happening, the sky began to shimmer. Cloaked ships appeared, silent and ominous, hovering over major cities. These ships weren't human. The world held its breath. At that moment, Captain Mason received the call. His team was to secure a top-secret military base located on the outskirts of the city. The threat wasn't merely an unknown attack. It was alien. Alien ships, cloaked by advanced technology, circled above as robots equipped with lethal weaponry patrolled the streets. This was no ordinary enemy. The humans stood no chance. The mission was straightforward: hold the line until reinforcements arrived. But there were no reinforcements. The enemy was faster, smarter, and deadlier. As Mason and his team made their way through the crumbling city, their every move was monitored by the invaders. Soon enough, the team found themselves ambushed. The streets, once bustling with life, were now filled with nothing but destruction. Robots appeared out of thin air, cloaked until the last moment. The team fought back with everything they had. EMP devices to disable the alien tech, but the odds were still overwhelming. Just when it seemed like all hope was lost, Mason received an encrypted transmission from the alien eye. The voice was cold, mechanical, and full of disdain. It declared, "Humans are inferior. Your extinction is imminent. You will be eradicated." The countdown had begun. Earth had mere hours before total annihilation. It was a terrifying realization. Earth was facing an enemy unlike anything it had ever known. But even in the face of certain destruction, Mason felt a flicker of defiance. Humans may have been technologically inferior, but they had something the aliens didn't: ingenuity and resilience. Mason vowed to fight back, no matter the cost. As the team regrouped and made their way to the last remaining stronghold, Mason's resolve hardened. The aliens had superior weaponry and cloaking technology, but they underestimated humanity's will to survive. With what little they had, the humans began to prepare for a counterattack. Using old tech, repurposed weapons, and sheer determination, they launched a raid on a supply depot held by the aliens. Their mission was clear: disable the alien forces' weapons and turn the tide in their favor. The battle that followed was nothing short of a miracle. With only limited resources at their disposal, Mason and his team fought like never before. They used guerrilla tactics to their advantage, setting traps and laying mines, creating an environment where the aliens' advanced technology was less of an advantage. But the cost was high. The team lost one of their own in the heat of battle. Bonner, Mason's closest friend and the team's best soldier, was critically injured. As he lay dying in Mason's arms, his last words were a plea for humanity to rise up, to fight against the eye-controlled empire. Bonner's death struck deep, but it also fueled Mason's determination. He swore to honor his friend's sacrifice. Meanwhile, Mason's team uncovered something shocking, a revelation that would change everything. The alien eye wasn't just focused on Earth. It had a grander plan, one that stretched across entire star systems. The eye was consolidating control over multiple galaxies, wiping out entire civilizations to create an empire under its command. The fate of Earth wasn't just a matter of survival. It could spark a rebellion that would ripple across the galaxy. With the clock ticking, the battle on Earth intensified. Alien forces began their full-scale invasion, landing heavily armored infantry and giant mechanical war machines in the heart of human cities. The skies were filled with laser fire as massive ships descended. Mason's team was now forced into close-quarters combat, fighting for survival with every ounce of strength they had. They faced overwhelming numbers, but the humans held their ground. They set more traps, hacked into alien tech, and used their environment to strike when the enemy least expected it. The battle scenes were intense, a chaotic dance of death. But as the enemy pushed forward, Mason and his team pushed back harder. With each passing hour, the battle became more personal. For every alien they defeated, they lost another one of their own. The war had turned into a brutal game of survival, with no end in sight. Then, just as it seemed like all hope was lost, the humans made their final push. Mason's team had come up with a bold plan, one that would either bring victory or seal their fate. They would take the fight directly to the heart of the alien mothership, the source of the AI's power. Using a retrofitted battleship equipped with cloaking technology stolen from the aliens, the humans set course for the mothership. The stakes were higher than ever. The final battle was nothing short of epic. In the vast emptiness of space, Earth's ragtag fleet launched their assault. The mothership loomed large in the distance, a massive fortress of alien technology. But the humans had one advantage: determination. They fought with everything they had, using their limited resources to launch missiles and fire laser cannons. The space battle unfolded with high-intensity action. Missiles flew, lasers cut through the void, and both sides suffered heavy casualties. But Captain Mason knew the fight was far from over. The alien mothership had immense firepower, and its shields were nearly impenetrable. Mason's team had one shot to get inside and destroy its core. It was a suicide mission, but there was no turning back. The final assault began. As the humans breached the mothership's shields, it became clear that their sacrifices had not been in vain. They fought through wave after wave of alien forces, their resolve unbroken, but not without cost. As the team reached the heart of the mothership, they were met with overwhelming resistance. The final act of defiance came when Mason's team sacrificed themselves to plant the explosive charges needed to destroy the mothership. The resulting explosion was devastating. The AI's control systems collapsed, and the alien empire crumbled. In the aftermath of the explosion, Earth was left standing, victorious but scared. The battle was over. The galaxy would never be the same again. Mason stood among the ruins of the alien mothership, broken and battered but unbowed. He had lost so much, but in the end, humanity had prevailed. The Earth, once the underdog, had defeated an advanced alien race, and its victory would resonate across the galaxy for centuries to come. Though the war was won, the future was uncertain. The galaxy had been forever altered, but one thing was clear: humans would never be underestimated again. They had shown the universe what they were truly capable of.